black and white on that
Yeah.
movie.
So what got you in? What got you into zombies?
It's just something that I was just like, since it's a popular thing, I figured, well, let's try this book first. Because, I got like some 40-some extra books, and they're not just zombies. They're just like superhero books, ghost stories, and stuff. And I was like, well, I wrote this zombie book, and I was like, okay, let's try this first. Because, since zombies seem to be the thing, I figured, well, I'll try this first, and maybe I can actually get somewhere.
Well, you never
People
know.
actually would read the book and would know.
Yeah, well, people are, like I said, they're the number one thing right now is zombies.
Right.
And even more than Bigfoot and stuff like that. But I really, I was reading here back about a year ago. A scientist said, it's not really far fetched. There is certain viruses out there that could actually kill the brain, and you can actually pretty much function with just, your brain stem. And what he was saying is, that, maybe some type of flu could come around or some type of virus could come around in the future and take out a lot of people, or maybe they don't really die, but their brain dies. And then, they got their brain stem and they're walking around. And he said it's quite possible,
Are you talking about the government putting a little chip in you? And
What he was saying is that it's quite possible that a virus or something, man created or whatever created, even from the birds, whatever, could actually cause there to be real life zombies walking around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you go into Walmart and you find 3/4 of the people and they're walking around, going fresh brains, it'd be kind of interesting.
That'd be scary.
Yeah.
I'd be freaking out. I'd be getting on my motorcycle, take my Harley, and just whoop, out of there.
I don't know. I think
there's a show out that they actually said that some people actually bring back people in Zimbabwe or something like that, and the guy was supposed to have been dead sometime, and he just gets up and starts going back to his normal job, and and he was supposed to be dead, and they said, well, there he is again. Every time he died, he seemed to come back up again and start doing his job. They always thought that he was, dead or whatever, but
hey,
who knows? They could have been wrong.
Well, hey, don't forget, like in places like in Jamaica years ago, they used to kind of take a victim, right, and kind of give them this stuff that would virtually stop their heart.
LSD?
Not LSD. What are you thinking about, Kevin? They would They would give their victim, right, this drug, and voodoo, and it would cause them basically to give all the symptoms that they're dead, right? And then when they kind of revive, they're a walking zombie, where they have no willpower, no nothing. They don't even know who they are, and that exists, and it did exist. And, that's probably how the zombie thing actually really started. I remember watching an old Bud Abbott and Lou Costello movie, with zombies and stuff like that back then from voodoo, and all that stuff with a plot in it. So, probably somebody sat there and looked at that and they go, hey, let's kind of modify this and let's make the first, zombie movie.
Zombie movie?
Yeah, that's probably how it started.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
But I really...
there's all kinds of things out there that could actually happen that could, bring back the dead, if you will.
That would be really, really scary, though. If they brought somebody back and they're not the person they were, and they're just basically walking around, not knowing who they are, it'd be scary. It also, like this one doctor said, if this virus would hit and kill millions and millions of people worldwide, he was talking, it was like 80-90% of the population of the earth could, be affected by it, where they would, die off. And then the ones that still survived would be basically zombies. And, it's not far-fetched. I mean, let's face it, if you kind of lose all your faculties and you're hungry, I guess maybe like him, Kevin, would maybe be kind of tasty. I mean,
have you seen the show The Last Ship? It's not really it's not really a zombie show. But it's basically a post-apocalyptic. It's a post-apocalyptic TV show that came out. I think it was like 2 years ago.
3 seasons ago.
No, I've heard of it, yeah, but I haven't seen it. No.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with zombies, but it was a virus that killed like
90%
of the Earth's population.
And the Navy tried looking for a cure, and they're in like a battleship, and there's constant conflict between like the Russians and all that stuff. And,
what's left of them.
Yeah, and it's a very good show. Check it out if you ever have time.
Well, hey Tim, if there, what would you do? Honestly, what would we do? What would we do to survive if there, and like your kids in your book? What do you need to survive if there was zombies? I mean, you can't only hold up in your bedroom or your basement so long.
No, I mean,
you gotta come out. You gotta come out soon.
They gotta.
Yeah, Kevin, you gotta come out of the closet.
Oh,
no. And that's what they did. They over the winter they had to hide out in the treehouse that I, made for them, if you will. And after that, they had to go out and find food at stores. Have to hide away from the hordes of zombies that would walk by or whatever. But and then they'd run into other people that were helping, and then they help them. You would, find cars or whatever and get into those and go as far as you could before you ran into some other, vehicle wrecks or what have you. But it was basically all survival. Well, you have to find the food and, keep going and find a safe place to sleep.
What did
zombies don't sleep.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, they go in a daze. I mean, when they smell you or hear you, boy, they still must have good hearing after all that rotting in their ears. But
yeah, I know.
I just think, like, what did they use for protection? I mean, guns and stuff like that, and knives and stuff like that, or
because the one kid his name's David Hawk in there. He used to go hunting with his dad, so he has knowledge of guns and so forth. And the other guy, the other kid is named Jake Dragon, and he's a Chinese person. He knows hand-to-hand combat, so he shows them how to use swords and whatnot in there. But, and sometimes they kind of miss their mark, and if they don't have somebody else with them, and their friends are always next to them or so to help, make sure they get the zombie and kill them and what have you. And they always try to take on less zombies, so this way they're not going to get killed. Well, they want to take on maybe one or two at a time, but not hordes of them.
Yeah, did any of the kids get killed off, though, by zombies, get, bitten and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah, they all do. I mean, I'm only down to the last 3 characters in the second book.
How many did you start? How many did you start out with?
I had 6. A girlfriend for each one of the guys.
Did the girls go pretty much fast? I'm sorry, bad joke. But I mean, did the girls get bit? I mean,
they found an island, I guess you could say, in the book, and somebody brought the disease over to their island, and next thing you know, everybody on the island, except for the 3 main characters here, Jay, David, and Jack, all survived, but they had to kill off everybody on the island, and then they returned back to the mainland to try to find other people.
Yeah, that would
that's pretty much them.
That would be really hard too.
Yeah,
you're on an island, and then I mean, I don't know how far they had to sail to get back on the landmass, but it would be a total nightmare emotionally. You're here on an island. It's bad enough they all got killed off, but then you get back on the mainland, and then you start, seeing virtually, you know,
the same, yeah.
The same thing had happened, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
scary. I mean, you know, I just wonder how much farther they can. I hate to say it, take the zombie fad before, you know, it dies off, just like the westerns did. And then after the westerns, what was it? The cops and robbers, and then stuff like that. And you know, it's just like, you know, there's a fad so long, and then all of a sudden it goes off to, you know, hopefully it doesn't go off to like Mary Poppins type of movies and TV shows.
Mary Poppins as a zombie.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I could hear her. I hear the sound of me. You know, I mean, you know, no, thank you. You know. So, hey, also, just to change the subject for a split second, have you heard that the Navy has released information that they actually have film of encounters of UFOs, where a couple of Navy pilots were chasing a UFO, got it filmed, and they said that they, even with their afterburners, I mean, they were like standing still as the UFO just flashed by.
Well, you got to think, wherever world they're coming from, they're going to be so far away. So you got to think with their supersonic or whatever supersonic UFO
Well, they would not be
spaceships
supersonic. They'd
or whatever.
be past warp. They have to be.
They're coming from far, far away, so they're going to be flying super, super fast. So to us, they're going to be looking like they're standing still. So if you so happen to see them, they're going to be moving so fast. They're going to be looking like they're just frozen.
Well, you know what, I was making a point too about the spaceships, you know, aliens. I was actually reading what again a scientist was saying from NASA is that they would just look at us like the zombies look at you know, the living. They're so far advanced than us, you know, to be able to do what they're doing. You know, I mean, here we are. We think that we have it all, right? We don't. I mean, if somebody can, you know, teleport themselves from across the universe and come and check out us on Earth,
or even fly that distance, because the speed of we can't even go a light year, and we can't even go a light year, and these aliens are thousands and millions of light years away are coming here.
Well, that's
and
not
we can't even hit that speed.
Well,
that's
Kevin. But what I'm trying to say is, they're going to look at you as you look at that rabbit running in the forest. I mean,
exactly.
I mean, you know, I mean, they're going to look at us as zombies, basically, and you know, we could be a good food supply for them.
And
you know, maybe
that's probably why they're visiting us.
Yeah, that's what you should do in the next book. Write about aliens coming down on Earth and realize we're nothing more than cattle.
All right, I'm already ahead of you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Back, you know, because I'm old, and I used to watch the original Twilight Zones. And one of the episodes, and I brought this up on my show a couple weeks ago, was that a UFO landed, right? And they said they're here to help man. And they gave this one scientist this big, huge book. And it says to serve man. But in it, you know, we couldn't read it because it was in their language, right? So the scientists, you know, they were spending all this time trying to figure out what it said. Meanwhile, they were taking all these people, right, and giving them free rides to their planet on, you know, on spaceships, which, you know, were like airports. That was that many of them. And all these people were going to their planet, right? And this one scientist was involved at the very beginning of it. Okay, he was chosen to go to that planet, right? And as he was boarding the UFO and walking up the stairs to get into it, right? One of his colleagues come running up, and she said to him, "Don't get on the spaceship. We broke the code of the book. Don't get in it. It's to serve man is a cookbook." You know, so, you know, so, I mean, you know, you'd have to look at, you know, that maybe we're nothing more than zombies to these aliens coming down. I mean, you know, we're not
and just picking us off one by one, like, ooh, that person looks good, or ooh, that person doesn't look good, and, you know.
Well, just think about this, Tim, too. Do you know there's been 14,000 people missing since the 1900s in the U.S. forestry park system? that gone into the parks, right, and totally